What is up, guys? Welcome back to Rich Artist Fridays. It's so amazing that you guys came back. If for anybody that's new here or you're here for the first time, my name is Sophie. I'm the founder of the Rich Artist Program. And the program is free Friday classes, master classes, group coachings, one-on-one coachings where we break the stigma of the starving artist lifestyle and we try to counteract the gatekeeping that goes on a lot in the commercial photography industry specifically. And we talk about all kinds of topics that I think are on a lot of people's minds, from, how to shoot a commercial campaign for a brand, if that's what you're after, how to grow your audience on social media or any other platform that you crave visibility on, how to level up your work. Because if you're anything like me, I'm pretty certain that you have this inkling of what you're truly capable of. I always had throughout my career, and it has taken so many steps to sort of build that out, and by no means done with that. But that is the foundation of what we do here on Rich Artist Fridays. I myself went to college for photography, but nobody ever taught me how to, for example, run a business or feel empowered in my photography business. They only learned how to be an artist. But then I got to intern and assist famous photographers that were making sometimes up to millions a year. And I got so lucky that I got to have so much insight into how other people have built successful careers in this business, and gain a lot of knowledge through the industry, and get to play fly on the wall and get access to rooms that I might not have been able to get into otherwise. And I really want to share those experiences with you guys. I want you guys to learn from what I got to observe and take in. And I have held so many job positions because I was so obsessed with the industry, with the beauty and fashion industry, with becoming a working photographer. It's literally all I ever wanted to do with my entire life. So I sort of made it my mission to infiltrate every possible sort of area surrounding this career that I was dreaming of. So I was a production assistant, I was a lighting tech, I was a digitech, I was a studio manager. So for a while, I got to do all of the administrative side behind the scenes, all the way to like how to file taxes for somebody that makes millions of dollars as a freelance artist, which is so cool that I got to see that. My whole business model, on the administrative side is sort of based off of what I learned on that job. I have held the position of a professional commercial retoucher. So I've retouched huge commercial campaigns. And I somehow got roped into modeling myself. So I've stood on the other side of it, which I would like to think makes me a better photographer. So all of those things, really contributed to the career that I have today. And obviously, I didn't do it all by myself. I got to work with agents, producers, art directors, marketing companies, and have had teams of people that have really helped me get to where I currently am, which was agents, business coaches, financial advisors, accountants, interns, assistants, mentors, all the different types of things. And you know, there's so many fields to pull from for these Rich Artist Fridays, and we have done this for an entire year. In 2 weeks' time, it'll be a full year of Rich Artist Fridays. So right now, you can go onto my Eventbrite and sign up for the 1 year celebration. We're going to do, Fridays are usually our 30 minutes, but we're going to do at least an hour. And I'm going to choose two people to review their portfolios as well. And then we'll maybe do like a little highlight reel or a Q&A, whatever you guys want, for our big blowout celebration. So if you want to have your portfolio reviewed by me, grab a free ticket for the event in 2 weeks' time, and I will be raffling. That will like automatically enter you into getting raffled out for a portfolio review. All right, so that's out of the way, and we are currently in the middle of our first ever Rich Artist Friday masterclass because I wanted to pick a topic that we focus on over the course of an entire month. Today is week 3. So today we're talking about building and nurturing client relationships, because when it comes to sort of cultivating a strong relationship with your clients, it's really vital for long-term success, especially if you're a freelance photographer, because ultimately we don't just want to land that one campaign. We want to have an actual relationship with these clients, with the people that build these amazing brands, so that they keep coming back to us and they really value us as a contribution to their teams whenever the time comes around where they're shooting campaigns. We want to be the first person that they think of, right? So I have broken that down into 3 categories I want to talk about today, which I think are crucial when it comes to client relationships, which is networking, communication, and customer service, which I purposefully named it that to like maybe agitate you guys a little bit, because I always say we're not service providers, but we do provide a service. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so we're here to sort of ensure client loyalty towards us. And last week we talked about, how to set up your portfolio in order to be eye-catching to the sort of brands that you might want to be working with. And we've also done classes about, for example, how to crop your images like a pro so that they read more commercially viable, which is such a quick way to sort of change the impression you can make with your portfolio. That's up on my YouTube channel already. And we've also done previous portfolio reviews, which I think are always helpful to get little snippets of ideas and inspiration for how you could be setting up your website to have a good foundation for when you do start building client relationships and they start looking at your stuff, that you're sort of already making the right impression. So I would say start there. And then the next step is the client relationships that you're building. Now let's talk about the steps after you've set up your website. The first point I wrote down is networking. And I wrote down be visible. And we've talked about visibility before. Obviously, we are artists in a visual medium, and our work is meant to be seen and consumed. And you, as an artist, are also meant to be seen and heard. I'm pretty sure you have some amazing stuff to say. Sorry, guys. Welcome to New York. I'm pretty sure that you have some amazing stuff to say with your art. But if nobody gets to see your work and if nobody knows you exist, it's pretty hard to draw in jobs. And that's something I had to sort of learn how to wrap my mind around, because I always thought if I'm just a good enough artist, the visibility will come with that. But when it comes to the business side of things and with actually reaching clients that you're interested in, it's a whole other ball game. Now, yes, there's a lot of artists that aren't really good at networking, or that aren't putting in the effort to draw in their own clients, and maybe they're lucky enough to land an agent that is amazing at doing that for them and that really cares about growing that artist visibility in the industry, but I wouldn't count on it. And if you know how to do it yourself and you can eventually maybe outsource that and have somebody do it for you, even better, right? So the first step to networking is making yourself visible. And I want to highly encourage you guys to sort of think about, what is your own sort of identity when it comes to your own visibility? Like, are you very outgoing? Are you sliding into everybody's DMs on Instagram? Are you following people and hyping them up and being like, hey, I'm here, I'm present, look at my work, look at my new work? Are you sending out emails to people being like, look, I just did this shoot and I think it fits with what you guys are doing as a brand and I want to do this for you? Because it's a little bit of a mind game when it comes to visibility. And networking is a game in that sense, but it is also very much who you are as a person. And don't get me wrong, guys, for a really long time, especially before I hired my first ever business coach, I had such big inhibitions when it came to sort of putting myself out there, because you're making yourself vulnerable, and oftentimes it feels like you're setting yourself up for rejection. But then I soon learned that if I really am determined to go after these brands, my visibility is my responsibility. The second thing I wrote down when it comes to networking is be consistent. It is not enough for people to have seen your name once, or maybe hopefully even clicked on your website once. it is your job to sort of stay on people's radars. And I've done Rich Artist Fridays about sort of outreach routines and how to, be consistent with emails and how to stand out with the emails that you're sending out and how to engage on social media. And if that's something that you're interested in and that's the point where you're at in your career, I highly recommend you join the next 8-week Rich Artist program that we're going to do in the summer. It's going to be in June. You can read some of that about that program on my website. We've done it twice already, and that's where we really go into depth of, outreach routines and how to track that on Google Sheets and what to say in your email and how to sort of come across personable. And that's something I wrote down here as well. Be personable. Like, who are you talking to? For a long time, when I was doing outreach and when I was trying to become good at networking, I felt like I was talking to this billion-dollar company. So it constantly felt like I was in a job interview and I was like sweating to make a good impression and so desperate for people to sort of take notice of me. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, we're all desperate to be noticed by the people that we want to work with. But I realized that networking with brands is the exact same thing as networking at an event where you're like trying to make friends. It really is the same. And once I started looking at it that way, it made it a little bit easier to just see myself as a person and see the brands that I'm reaching out to as a collection of other people that might be really, really nice people. It really helps me to sort of look up people's pictures on LinkedIn so that I know, like, oh, Sarah seems like somebody that I should be a little bit formal with. And Julie is somebody where I'm going to be like, hey, Julie, what's up? Like, I loved all the recent reel contents that you've been pumping out on Instagram. Like, they're so cool, they're so funny, and they live rent-free in my brain. Like, do you have time to hop on a 20-minute Zoom call? Like, try to get a good gauge for the people that you're trying to network with and that you're trying to establish a relationship with, because it makes it a little bit less intimidating to keep going back and reaching out to people and not feeling guilty about it. Maybe that's just me projecting, but like, it really helps to get yourself in a place where you feel good about continuously showing up and taking up that space. Maybe like check in with yourself, see what comes up when it comes to your own visibility. Okay, second point, communication. What a client wants. There's an amazing Rich Artist Friday we did on it also on my YouTube. I know I sound like a broken record, but watch the ones we've previously done because of a lot of these topics are, repetitively come up. And learn how to speak your client's language. We talked about this as well. What does a client want? I asked this on the Rich Artist Friday where the whole theme was, what does a client want? And people were like, they want to be creative, they want to be unique, they want to stand out with their campaigns, which is all correct. But what a commercial client wants is to sell a product. And I'm sorry that is capitalistic and boring or disappointing, but realistically, if you are a commercial photographer, hopefully you've made your peace with that, that goes hand in hand. And that's okay. It's okay for your client to want to sell a product. If it's a product that you can get behind, obviously there will be brands where you're like, I can't endorse this. And I've turned down jobs as well, where I was like, it doesn't feel aligned with who I am as an artist. And yes, we all take commercial jobs also to pay the bills. And in order to have the resources to be able to do more creative work that is maybe going to provide a little bit less revenue for us, it's a balancing act. But getting to work with brands is such an amazing resource. I don't have to get into it. That's what we covered in week 1 of this master workshop. But what a client wants is to sell a product. And if you can learn to communicate with them in a way that lets them know that you're totally okay with that and you are actually in full support of that goal, and after them wanting to sell a product comes all the ways that you can now be an asset to them to help them do that in a better way, because we all know that better pictures help brands establish a loyal customer base. If you have high quality images, it communicates the quality of your product. You can have the most amazing product, but if your images are of poor quality, it sort of leads to mistrust in the customer, and it doesn't make them value the product as much. Like we've all seen, we all know that Zara products aren't the same quality as like handcrafted Italian whatever, but their campaigns are of such high production value that it has turned Zara into a billion-dollar brand. So images have power, and learn how to communicate that with a client. Communication is the theme here, right? Guiding them through your process and being over communicative about where you come in and what parts of the job you're responsible for if they do collaborate with you. Because what a client also wants is for you to be an expert at what you do, and for you to sort of take care of their needs when it comes to photography, and knowing how to provide and hold space for them to feel safe enough to hire you for that job and to give you those thousands and thousands, hopefully thousands and thousands of dollars, and for you to show up professional enough that they feel they have a guarantee that the end product is going to do what they needed to do, which is help them level up their brand, which if they manage to level up their brand, they'll end up selling more products, which then means for the next season of product releases, they're going to have an even bigger budget, and hopefully they'll come back and give you that money. So be over communicative when it comes to shining a light on the side of the project where you come in and where you're an expert, because a client doesn't need to know how you run your team or how you're set up internally as a photography business, but they do need to know that you know what you're doing. And the bigger the brand, the more you need to actually, is that true? I mean, no matter how big the brand is, you need to come across as professional as you can. And I know we just talked about networking and being personable and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that you can't hold a framework of professionalism for clients to feel safe with you, because they don't know how to be a photographer, otherwise they'd be doing it themselves. So that's where you come in. And if you can find a way to communicate that with clients, it makes it so much easier to then go into things that might be a little bit harder, like rate negotiations, and let them know your next steps, every step of the way, so they know where they're at with you. Because it can be scary to hire an artist and just trust them that at the end of the day they will deliver, because it's a long progress up until the point where you get to actually be on set and like hit that button on the camera, right? So if you can learn to sort of deal with the whole process leading up to it, that's what makes you a professional, and that's what makes you feel empowered in your own business and not just as an artist. Does that make sense? Okay, third point, customer service. Now, I know I always repeat myself saying we're not service providers, we're artists, and we should be charging accordingly, and all of that is true, but you are providing a service to these people. So during the entire process, the number one thing that I found super, super important is to be as open, honest, and transparent with your customers. And that takes identifying yourself as an entrepreneur and feeling empowered in building and growing and running a successful business. Now, can you eventually outsource a lot of these things and have people sort of be front facing to your business and have you focus on the creative stuff and being the artist, which is what you're best at? Absolutely. That's the end all be all goal, is to just get to do the creative stuff. But if you can learn how to feel empowered in this side of it as well, it's a balancing act, and it's a backbone to the career that every single person, I know it, every single person in here is dreaming of. And I had to come to that realization, and it made a world of a difference in the jobs that I got to attract, So transparency is key here, and I would recommend taking a good look at your inhibitions and your hangups, no matter what it might be on the business side of things, because I know a lot of us probably find it easier to identify with the creative stuff. So whether it's, are you afraid to talk money? Are you afraid to negotiate with a client? Are you good at advocating for yourself and what you need in order to do a good job? Do you know what you need in order to do a good job? Because it's going to be pretty hard for you to get deals out of brands if you don't know what you want and what you need, or if you are constantly settling for much, much less, because ultimately it's going to affect the quality of your project. Or for example, are you afraid that you're going to lose the job, that there's always going to be somebody else around the corner that's going to be willing to do it for less, and so you're constantly selling yourself short? And at the end of the day, know your bottom line and be willing to walk away. That it sort of ensures that when you do say yes to a project, the customer service that we're talking about here is going to be of the highest quality, and ultimately what we're looking for is a win-win for both parties, for you and for the client. And if you're sort of walking into any sort of client relationship with a lack mentality, ultimately it's going to hurt both of you. And we should be walking into these relationships willing to serve our clients, but under the right circumstances. And you need to be aware of what those circumstances are for you in order to ever attract clients that are in line with the career that you want to have. Otherwise, you're always going to end up attracting clients that are going to force you to settle for less, which I think most of us learn the hard way. And you do want to make your client happy. It's a win-win. And if you're constantly having to sell yourself short and feel unappreciated by the clients that you are saying yes to, everybody loses. We all know this. The client loses and you lose. It is in the client's interest to meet your basic needs, your bottom needs. You're always going to end up in negotiations. Clients are always going to want to try to pay as little as they can possibly get away with. But what that looks like is for you to know and for you to tell them and for you to feel empowered to sort of set parameters around. That's what makes you a professional photographer, okay? That's what makes you empowered in your business and an entrepreneurial artist. And yeah, so that is the framework I wanted to sort of paint for you guys when it comes to building and nurturing client relationships. I hope that this gave you a little bit food for thought. Come back next week for our last week of the Mastering the Art of Landing a Commercial Client. And then the week after, it's our 1-year anniversary. I'm so freaking excited. If you want to get your portfolio reviewed, buy a free ticket now, and that will automatically enter you into the raffle. I cannot wait to see you guys and to celebrate with you guys. And yeah, 52 weeks of Rich Artist Fridays. That's absolutely crazy. And if you are interested in the 8-week program, then go to sophiekeatsman.com. There's a tab there called Learn, where I break down the whole curriculum. You can read reviews of other people that have already done the program, and then the sign up will be up sometime soon, and the class will be starting in June. I am so excited. I love you guys so much. And if you ever miss a Rich Artist Friday, do not forget to check out the YouTube channel and catch up on whatever topics you want input in from me. I love you guys. Follow me on Instagram. That's where I announce a lot of the topics coming up for Rich Artist Friday, and I do polls so you can suggest topics that you guys want me to talk about. Tamara says, thank you. Thank you so much for watching, Tamara. Thank you to everybody in the Instagram live as well. And I will see you guys next week. Mwah! Love you guys. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you next week. Bye.